Albert Bell, if that box is drawn correctly, he's out of the batter's box. Of course, he's not hitting that well. You don't want to bring it up to him. But catchers don't mind that if nobody's on base. But if somebody's on first, then that pushes a catcher even farther back from second.
Ball 3, all off speed. 3-0.
You can bet he has the green light right here.
I'll tell you, I've never seen hitters, both American and National League, hit 3-0 more than I have in 1995. Much more aggressive. And why not?
That's a strike. Albert thought it was ball 4.
He was hitting there. That pitch just happened to catch the corner.
Well, that's what you mentioned earlier. This is where he wants to be. Outer extremes of the plate. In fact, a couple of inches off the plate, which is probably why he wanted to go down to first.
That's a big corner right there. That was Times Square.
That corner was in Pepper Pike. That's a strike. Off speed again. 3-2. So full count, 2 out. Baerga will be off and running with a pitch.
Just low and away. And that's the book on Albert. High and tight, low and away, change speeds.
That's a book on anybody.
Exactly. Especially on this guy.
Baerga goes. 3-2 is inside. Ball 4. Just inside. So Avery all soft stuff. And then Cox wants an appeal at first base, and they finally get one, and Frank Pulley said no swing. And then Bobby wants to know why it wasn't a called strike to begin with.
But Bobby's saying we'll take either way.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Did he go around? Oh, that was close.
Yes.
That was close.
Yeah, Albert should be getting his glove and trotting to left.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he went around there.
Yeah, that was certainly closer to being a strike than strike 1 was. Here's Murray now. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, half-swing strike, 0-1. Eddie first came up with the Orioles in '77, so this is the end of his 19th season. Played in the World Series in '79 and '83. Baerga at second. Bell off to his lead at first. 1-1.
You mentioned that career 19 years, and in all 19 years has driven in over 75 runs, which ties Hank Aaron. But that run he drove in the 12th inning last night. Any bigger?
No.
Only 2 hits in the World Series, a 2-run homer against Glavine, and the game winner last night.
Murray during the regular season a much better hitter from the other side. He hit .340 left-handed and only .269 this way.
I saw Eddie when he came up with the Orioles, a natural right-handed hitter, and I thought he'd struggle left-handed. But it's really at the end of his career he is struggling more from this side.
2-2.
He's very frustrated. He looked up and away. I mean, this is a home run swing. Pulls off it just enough to move the head, and the result is a swing and a miss.
That's similar to the 2-run homer he hit off Tommy Glavine in game 2.
2-2 with 2 out, 2 on, no score in the first inning, and that's grounded down to third, and Jones goes to Lemke. So each team threatens but doesn't score, and at the end of 1, no score. Right in northern Ohio, temperature in the low 50s and very little wind, so quite comfortable. Spectacular shot of downtown Cleveland. Tonight's Diamond Dust quiz brought to you by Lexus. Bob Gibson struck out a record 17 batters in game 1 of the '68 World Series, mainly due to Tim McCarver's pitch selection. The question is, who holds the record for most strikeouts by a relief pitcher in a World Series game? And we'll have the answer for you shortly.
I think I know that answer.
All right. You want to venture a guess?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he helped me get my first World Series win.
1966.
Yep. So we'll give you a couple of hints. I assume that's, but you never know with Steve Hurt. Been known to trick you up here.
Ryan Klesko leads off in the second inning. 2-0 the count.
If it is Mo Grabowski back in 1966, he did it 5 years before Ryan Klesko was born. Klesko only 24 years old. But really has an idea about the strike zone and about what he's trying to do at the plate. The more and more you talk to this young man, the more you realize that he's not just up there hacking. He knows what he's doing.
Hit .310 with 23 homers during the regular season. Homered last night to center field. 3-1.
Yeah, I saw that early in the division series. Struck him out on a pitch away. The next time he went out there, got a hit to left field, drove a double to left field, and another base hit up the middle.
And he walks here. So Klesko starts things with a walk in the second inning. The Braves again get the leadoff man on. And Javi Lopez comes up. Lopez, some very big hits in postseason play. I think the biggest might have been in Cincinnati in Game 2 of the League Championship Series, helping the Braves win 2 on the road and leading to a sweep. Hit a home run, a 3-run homer in extra innings.
Pretty big hit in the World Series, too. A 2-run shot against Dennis Martinez for his only hit. Braves get a lot of long ball production out of their catchers. 23 home runs during the regular season out of Charlie O'Brien and Javier Lopez.
That's grounded down to third. Espinosa goes to Baerga, 1 back to first. Not in time there. Lopez legs it out. Klesko gone on a force. 5-4, 1 down, and it will bring up Lemke.
Now, a slide like Klesko's is really bad on the ankles. Leslie Visser talking about Baerga and the sprained ankles, wearing protection on both. And watch how hard Klesko comes in to Baerga just to make sure with that right arm. Perfectly clean, hard slide, and that prevents a double play.
Now Lemke with 1 out and 1 on, and you saw Baerga flexing. Fastball up high, ball 1. Lemke is a switch hitter. He's better the other way. He hit .290 as a right-handed batter and then .240 as a left-handed batter this season.
Yeah, showed us a little bit of muscle last night. The wind blowing as it is tonight, but much stronger from left to right. Almost hit a home run. Long single off the right field wall.
Hit down the line in left field and back in the seats. 1-1. Talking about Ken Hill and the fact he was moved during the season, and there were some of the guys who were picked up by contenders. David Wells went from Detroit to Cincinnati. He was 6-5. David Cone went to the Yankees and did very well down the stretch. Portugal from the Giants to the Reds, 6-5. And Ken Hill picked up by Cleveland, 4-1 with a 3.90 ERA.
By the way, 7 of those 8 pitchers reached postseason play.
One of the reasons, of course, is that the teams that procured them all were in the race, or as was the case with Cleveland, had big leads. In fact, Cleveland had such a big lead that John Hart was looking for a guy to get them through postseason as opposed to postseason. A lot of the other pitchers were picked up to get a team into postseason play. But the Indians had such a gigantic lead in the Central Division, and with a wild card looming at the end of July, they couldn't say it publicly, but they knew they were going to postseason play. And John Hart had to think about, who do we face in the playoffs?
And what pitchers are available. And Ken Hill was the best of the lot.
Yep. That's lifted to left field. And Bell there for the easy second down. 2 down, it will bring up Belliard. You know, when you think about one of the things John Hart did, at one point in August, it appeared as if the Indians were definitely going to meet the Angels in the division series, because that's the way the matchup was going to go. There was a point when it almost looked as if it was a lock, and John had to start thinking about how to get through the Angels first. It didn't turn out that way. Didn't have to. They wound up meeting the Red Sox and then Seattle. Comebacker. Easy play for Hill. That's that in the top of the second. And the 1.5 at Jacobs Field. Game 4 of the World Series. No score. Back to the World Series, 68. Bob Gibson fans 17, including Al Kaline and Norm Cash and Willie Horton. A World Series record at the end of the game. There's T-Mac, Tim McCarver, coming out to say, great job. Gibson saying, your name again? Who holds the record for most strikeouts by a relief pitcher in a World Series game? Mo Grabowski. You got it, James.
Yep, 11 punch-outs in 5 2/3 innings against the Dodgers. I was pitching the next day, sitting on the bench, and he made me understand that the Dodgers had trouble with high fastballs. Next day I went out there, that's what I threw. And then 3 shutouts later, we were world champs. Mo made it easy.
Now Manny Ramirez, who has been striking out his share of the time in postseason, 0-1.
You may have noticed on that clip the reaction of Willie Horton on that slider from Gibson. Willie to this day still thinks that ball hit him. That's how much that ball broke. It was headed right for him. Ball must have broken 1.5 feet. I've told anybody that if you had 3 fingers, you could have caught Gibson that day. He was awesome.
Best performance you've ever seen?
Yes. Best single performance that I've ever seen. Yes.
Manny Ramirez 4 for 4 in game 2 against Seattle in the American League Championship Series with 2 home runs, but that's been it. The rest of postseason has been a washout for him. And then insult to injury, in effect, the other night picked off at first base, key play in game 2 by Javi Lopez.
Well, he's 23, and you know Mike Hargroves talked about it. Charlie Manuel, the hitting instructor, he says this guy's got a lot of talent, but he is still learning how to play the game, and a much better offensive player at this point in his career than with the glove or on the bases. I mean, this is a kid that really, I mean, you gotta like his work ethics. He didn't play that much in the outfield, went back to the Dominican to learn so he could play somewhat in right field, and still trying to master that position.
1-2.
He said back to the Dominican, as you see Herbert Perry on deck. Actually, Ramirez is from the Bronx, but of course has family in the Dominican Republic.
Hit down to short, scooped up by Belliard. 1 down, and that will bring up Perry.
That's what Avery wants all the right-handed hitters to do tonight, is to try to pull the changeup on the outside, play pepper with the shortstop all night long.
Well, in the annals of last night's game, when you look at the box score down the line through the years, it'll be Eddie Murray and Carlos Baerga and Jose Mesa with the performances. But this guy, as much as any, is responsible for this series being 2-1 right now. Tremendous play at first base in the 9th inning on the ball hit by Chipper Jones. Otherwise, Atlanta probably wins the game.
2 outs, 2 on. Certainly 1 run scores, maybe 2.
And then he was able to dig out a throw at first base as well in the 10th. 1-1. Take a look at the play again from last night. Sure base hit down the line. No. Using that glove like a highlight cesta. And that's line to left field, but Polonia is there and makes it look relatively easy. 2 down.
You know, you bring up a great point about using the changeup to get the ground balls and keeping the hitters off balance, but if we go back and look at now, what, 7 hitters, every time Avery's thrown a fastball, he's been giving up a line drive. So that, we call that, oh, it's kind of like a circle change, almost, maybe not really with the index finger and the thumb together, but kind of like a palm ball, which he just kind of pulls down like a window shade.
They ought to change the name of that to the tentacle change. It's like an octopus.
But his fastball is not doing a lot tonight yet.
Alvaro Espinoza takes a strike. Espinoza from Venezuela, 33 years old. He was first signed by the Astros in '79. Strike, 0-2. And Alvaro has bounced around Minnesota, the Yankees, and then came here in 1993.
Yeah, Alvaro was the regular shortstop for the New York Yankees from '89 to '91.
That's looped into right field for a base hit. So a 2-out single by Espinosa, and it will bring up Alomar.
And Timmy, he could do that with the best of them when he was playing shortstop for the Yankees. Got up about 500 times, did not hit a home run, drove in 41 runs, hit around 280. I mean, if you don't hit a lot of home runs, just become a contact hitter. You put the ball in play, sometimes you get lucky.
Rafael Belliard the same way for the Braves.
Alomar hitting in the number 9 spot tonight. 0-1. Well, Espinosa, a one-time starter in the infield with the Yankees. What about Bobby Cox? I think some people wonder about Bobby's playing career. It was brief in the majors, but he did spend one season, 1968, as the Yankees' regular third baseman. He spent 2 years overall in the big leagues. In fact, when you look at his record played out in the Baseball Register, it looks very similar to Sparky Anderson's record. A brief stint as a starter in the big league. Sparky spent one season with Philadelphia, and then a whole lot of minor league action. 1-2.
And were it not for the bad knees of Bobby Cox, certainly he would have extended his major league career. He's had both knees replaced. Think about the heir apparent to that third base job, held down by Cletus Boyer for 9 years.
1-2 to Alomar, just inside. 2-2. Bobby Cox spent a lot of time managing postseason games. Toronto manager in '85 against Kansas City, and now 4 times in the last 5 seasons with the Braves.
Hey, class guy. You know, every day when we talk to him, and he's been an outstanding manager. I mean, he's an honest guy, and you know, he says he does it. It really doesn't matter whether they win the World Series. Come on. I mean, you see him agonize every night.
Off speed, grounded to short. There's the force. Belliard to Lemke, and we go to the third at Jacobs Field. Atlanta nothing, Cleveland nothing. Blimp Spirit of Akron, based not far from here. Akron right down the interstate on the way to Canton, the site of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the Goodyear Blimp hovering above Jacobs Field on this gorgeous late October night. The Atlanta Braves up 2-1 tomorrow. They send Greg Maddux to the mound. It's a rematch of Game 1, and Oral Hershiser works for Cleveland. Let me just take a look here for a second. Yes, it's our game tomorrow night on ABC. Right here, folks. Don't touch that dial.
Yeah, you would think that it's a must-win for the Indians tonight because Maddux, 2-hitter, 2 hits out of the infield, and only 2 outs out of the infield.
And it's lined into center field by Grissom, and Lofton can't make the catch, and Marquise goes about 1/3 of the way towards second, but holds there. So Grissom has both Atlanta hits.
Now this ball can be caught. Maybe it should have been caught, but it could have been caught. Lofton, that ball should have been caught. I'll change that. That ball's got to be caught. You don't see Kenny Lofton drop many balls like this. I mean, that ball hit him right in the breadbasket.
Yeah, we might have been hasty in scoring at a single, but they have scored at a base hit.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's a base hit. I mean, by rights, that should be an error.
And he's shaking off that right hand or wrist. Now Polonia. Grissom at first base. He stole second in the first inning, and then advanced as far as third, but was stranded there. Polonia going to the National League from the American, and at around the same time Hill went the other way, so the two have never faced each other before.
Grissom ran on the first pitch his first time on first. Willie run on the first pitch again.
He stays, pitch up and away, ball 1.
Yeah, Hill with the Cardinals, very easy to steal on. 20 out of 23. With Cleveland, 6 out of 9, which is not a bad percentage if you throw out 33% of the runners. But a big guy slow to the plate. He'll try to get quicker here.
Bluff's going, and the pitch is stroked foul off to the left. 1-1. Jimmy Williams flashing the signs after receiving them from Cox.
You might say, why does a runner like Marquise Grissom bluff running from first base? Well, what you do, you make the middle infielders commit towards second base, and that in itself can open up a hole on the left or right side. That's the reason he does it.
And I think if Polonia, Timmy, if he was a pull hitter, you maybe wait it out, try to give Polonia the hole into right field. But since he isn't, and you have a guy that's slow to the plate, and that's Hill, and a guy that can run it first, why wait?
Nobody out in the third with no score. The total's identical. Each team no runs, 2 hits, and no errors. Bobby has to squint without those glasses.
We understand that.
Yes, we do. There he goes. Gets a good jump and the pitch. Great play by the shortstop Vizquel to get the out. Omar almost overran it. He was running over to the bag to cover it. Had to backtrack just a bit. Short hop the ball. And that's why this guy is regarded by a lot of people as the best right now at his position.
And a case could be made that if Grissom isn't running here, that ball's a base hit into center field. But the ball hit right where Vizquel was going. He short hopped the play. 67 chances now, no errors for Vizquel in this postseason. But Polonia hit that ball on the button.
Now Jones. Swing and a miss. You saw the expression of Polonia, but Polonia has seen a lot of Vizquel before because Luis had spent his whole career in the American League prior to going over.
Yeah, well, you did what you wanted to do, Luis. You wanted to hit it hard, and you just happened to hit it to the wrong guy.
Grissom at second. 1 out, and Jones hits it to the right side. Perry shovels perfectly to Hill for the out. 2 down. Grissom now at third. So again, Marquise at third base with 2 out. That was the case in the first inning. And in this exact situation, they pitched around McGriff in effect. They did throw him 1 strike, but walked him on 5 pitches, and then Justice grounded out.
Now, Timmy, you mentioned between innings that really wasn't a pitch around. It was more or less make your pitch.
Yeah, it's kind of you know, I think the first at bat, I mean, he did throw the 2-0 pitch for a strike. It's almost like late innings. Instead of guarding the line, you're about halfway, and that's almost how a pitcher and a catcher work a guy like McGriff in this situation.
Half swing strike, 0-1.
And the deeper into the count you go, the farther out of the strike zone you go. As you say,
right.
Jim, expand the strike zone.
So that's why he throws him a splitter. If he's going to swing at it, fine. If not, the last thing you want to do, I mean, you watched McGriff hit the home run last night. You saw him homer off Hershiser. Fastballs in the middle of the plate, 1 up, 1 down. You don't want to make that mistake here.
Away, 1-1.
I mean, really what you bank on is that McGriff will get out of his mold and start swinging at balls. And a lot of hitters will do that. In clutch situations, 2 outs, runners in scoring position.
Do you throw him any pitch in the strike zone?
Well, you go for the periphery, the edges. You become Greg Maddux.
That's a Maddux-like pitch. 1-2.
Now things change, however. Now you try to get him out. You have pitched him so effectively that you forget about the pitch around situation now.
They rise as 1 at Jacobs Field for the 1-2 pitch. Ooh, 2-2.
That's what I talked about, agonizing. We've had a good year whether we win or not. Right, Bobby? You have, but you want to win.
Full count. Justice on deck. Now 1 for 26 in his career against Hill. Grissom at third. 2 out. No score in the third. And he loses him. So he gets ahead 1 and 2 and then throws 3 straight balls, and McGriff walks for the second time. So again, the inning parallels the first with first and third 2 out and Justice the batter.
And you can see Mike Hargrove talking about what Tim McCarver said. McGriff again could be running in this situation.
I think Bobby Cox, if he does send McGriff, he'll give Justice a couple of strikes. If it's 0-2, 1 and 2, then send him. But 2 great at bats and 2 very patient at bats by Fred McGriff.
Foul back. 0-1.
See, Justice 1 for 26 swings at exactly the same pitches that McGriff took. And you can see him talking to himself saying, stay back. Yes, I hurt my shoulder diving for a ball in May. I'm not the guy that 3 years ago hit 40 home runs. Let's just try to have a nice, concise swing and get a strike to hit.
1-1.
Nice play by Alomar. It's like being on what? An elevator, up and down.
1-2.
Yeah, this brings up the point you just mentioned. You do not throw the ball anywhere in the middle of the plate here if you can. There's a splitter that it really hangs up in the strike zone, but Justice misses it.
And again, another good running situation with McGriff.
But he stays, and the pitch is grounded down to the first baseman, Perry, unassisted. Atlanta leaves 2 more after 2.5. 0-0. Cloth and fine wine in the Stadium Club here.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Saturday night on ABC. Halloween treat, the Jeff Foxworthy show. Maybe this time, and then Hocus Pocus is Saturday night at the movies, right here on ABC. Kenny Lofton in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Here was the play that started the top of the 3rd. And it was scored a base hit. Grissom wound up getting as far as 3rd, but was stranded there. Now Kenny leads off in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Strike. 0-1. Well, Lofton has been the table setter throughout postseason, the guy to get things stirred up and get things started. And why not? He was a point guard at the University of Arizona and played in the Final Four in 1988. And that's what point guards do. 0-2.
Yeah, and Steve Avery knows. I mean, he might have watched the at-bats he had against Randy Johnson. I mean, some of the greatest at-bats I saw up in Seattle. And Avery 198, and that's how you get that big sweeping curveball, devastating if you don't hang in there if you're left-handed.
Ooh, strike 3, looking away and got it in.
Well, the reason he was looking away was because of that previous curveball. So you curve him away, pop him inside. Good pitch selection by Lopez and Avery. After the curveball, fastball locks Lofton.
And look at Lopez's glove. And that ball, I mean, about an inch of the plate. And again, you know, I think why Lofton did a perfect explanation, Timmy. He thought the ball was inside.
Avery had a surgeon's touch on Lofton right there. Strike 1 to Vizquel. 0-1.
A lot of times it's not the pitch and the location of the pitch. It's how you got there. And Avery, masterful, throwing the breaking ball away and then coming back with the fastball.
1-1. Metaphor for life, isn't it? Not the destination, it's the journey.
How you got there.
Yeah. 2-1.
Well, I'll tell you, Avery got here. He had 25 coming out of John F. Kennedy High School from Taylor, Michigan. I mean, what a senior year. 2 no-hitters, 7 shutouts, 88 in the 3rd innings, 180-some strikeouts.
Grounded down to Jones, who was playing in on the grass. And it's an easy play. 2 down. And now Baerga will come up.
And not only could he pitch, he hit .511 with 8 home runs. Did it all at the high school level. And I guess the irony is that the Indians drafted Mark Lewis when they could have taken Avery. And Lewis, we saw with the grand slam for Cincy against the Dodgers. Avery could be pitching in a different uniform tonight.
It's always funny to look at the things you could have done and the way they turned out. And then you look at somebody like Mike Piazza of the Dodgers, who was about the 9 millionth guy drafted the year he went. So where was everybody there?
Yeah, or a guy like Doc Gooden, who was drafted 6th in the country. Remarkable that 5 players could have been drafted in front of Dwight Gooden in 1982.
Or how about Jose Canseco, 15th round?
Yeah.
Strike. 2-1. Bat warming ceremony taking place in the dugout. Different ways to warm bats. When Bobby Mercer played with the Giants at Candlestick Park, he used to warm his bats by placing them in the sauna for an hour. Most coddled bats in history.
Did he sleep with them like Ron Stone of the Phillies?
No, but he ordered a massage for them.
I think that could break up a marriage, you know. Bats in bed.
Good. And we'll be back right after this. Well, maybe we won't. It's foul back and the count 3-2.
Why, my first wife hated when I brought the rosin bag up there after a tough loss.
Jeez. She should have gotten 75% for that.
Well, you can tell you live in California.
3-2 the count. 2 out, bases empty. No score in the 3rd. And that's line to right field, but right into the glove of David Justice. To the 4th with no score. Back we come with the 1995 World Series after this from our ABC stations. Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. No score. Game 4 of the World Series. And leading things off is Ryan Klesko in the 4th inning. He walked in the 2nd. He's followed by Lopez and Lemke, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the order. Ken Hill missing low and inside. 2-0. Maddox and Hershiser tomorrow. And then they'll stay in rotation. Both teams will for a 6th game in Atlanta if necessary. Glavine and Martinez. And it also means if a 7th game is to be played on Sunday night in Atlanta, you'd have a rematch of last night's starters. Nagy going against Smoltz. 3-1.
You talked about how mature Ryan Klesko is. I mean, this is a guy, if you watch him hit all year, that eventually is going to hit 35, 45 home runs. I mean, he has that type of swing.
Popped up. Looking for room is Espinosa. Nice catch. Not only fighting the railing, but a camera down there as well. Has to know exactly where he is and stay with it. And that one was hit a mile high as well. Good play.
He's fighting the railing and the dugout steps. It's close enough to the dugout that he's got to be wary of that also. Good play by Espinosa.
Just watch his right hand feel for the rail right there. I mean, he knows he's on the warning track right there. Got it. Big out.
Now Javi Lopez takes outside. 1-0.
The only reason I say it's a big out, you go 3-0 on Klesko. It looks like you're going to walk him, and all of a sudden you got 1 out.
1-1.
You know, you mentioned some of the big hits. It's apparent to me in the 4th game is that they respect Lopez as a good fastball hitter. That's what he hit for the home run off Dennis Martinez. And it has been breaking ball. If they do come with the fastballs, try to stay out of the middle of the plate. Like that.
Perfect example. 1-2.
They threw him nothing but slop last night. If they did come in, they would just come in with a fastball.
95. That's getting up near Wohlers. To right field and deep, and that one is off the top of the fence. Ramirez plays the carom, and winding up at second base is Lopez with a double. Last night Lemke hit one off the wall, and Ramirez played it perfectly and held him to a single, but this one jutted out towards center field as it rebounded, and Javier at second base.
As a matter of fact, the ball that Lemke hit was about the same height as this ball. It's about 2.5 feet from the top. Played nicely by Ramirez. I'm going to say the speed of Ken Hill is not really the most important thing. The one thing the radar gun doesn't show is how heavy the ball is when you make contact. And that's what all the hitters, when they talk about Hill, they talk about that.
Now Lemke, after the first extra base hit of the game, 0-1.
And also, Timmy, he's kind of a short armor, so you see a lot of the body, the jersey, and then the arm. Very unusual. Keeps it very close to his body. Just watch how his front side will come first.
Ground ball right side. Baerga scoops it up, and that's the second out, and on the play Lopez advances to third. It's the third time in the game the Braves have had a runner at third. 2 down, and Rafael Belliard coming up, a guy who had 222 during the regular season with 7 runs batted in.
And this is a situation where the Cleveland outfield cannot allow a ball to drop in front of them. Albert Bell's too deep in left field, but both Lofton and Ramirez are playing the proper depth. Rafael Belliard's last home run was in May of 1987. As a matter of fact, it's his only major league homer. No power whatsoever.
0-1.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that Albert Bell took about 3 steps back.
He's coming in about 3 steps right now, but he's still too deep. Belliard have to hit a ball twice to get it to him.
Belliard 0 for 9 in the World Series and 3 for 25 in postseason. And he gets a line drive right into Baerga's glove. So the Braves leave another man at third. Middle of the 4th. No score in Cleveland. It's here on ABC. We didn't disappoint you. There's the man. He's a Clevelander originally. Big Indians fan. Hit us up for tickets tonight. We couldn't help him out, but somebody did, and here he is in the ballpark. Drew Carey. Great show Wednesday nights on ABC. No score as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Albert Bell to lead things off. Bell, Murray, and Ramirez.
So far, both pitchers have been remarkably sharp to have had that long a layoff, as Jim was talking about in the opener.
Yeah, really only 1 walk for Avery, and that was to Bell.
Bell 2 for 10 in the World Series. 1-0. When you speak of batters who get extension, he is the prototype. 1-1.
Batters who get extensions get extensions.
That's right. Yeah. Long-term extension.
Right.
And speaking, Albert Bell crushes. John Hart will sign him. They got an option on him for 1996 at about $5.5 million. A lot of bucks, but I'll tell you what. You know anybody else that hit 52 doubles and 50 home runs this year?
In 143 games.
One ball, 2 strikes. And that's away. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Bell. You know, you think about Bell, who would you liken him to? Look at George Foster's numbers at the same age, and that's about when George was coming into his prime. He had been around for a while and really started to mature in the mid-70s as Bell takes called strike 3. Boy, Avery doing just a masterful job. Off speed away and then busts him inside, and down he goes.
Matter of fact, all 4 pitches were away, and then boom. You remember the Lofton strikeout, the breaking ball away, fastball inside. Good job by Avery.
Yeah, Albert did not like that call. You can see right there, he thought the ball was in off the plate. But
Albert's already gotten away with one, the 3-2 breaking ball that he swung. He shouldn't have walked the first time, in fairness.
Away, ball 1. 1-0. Albert likes to use that magic word a lot, but as we said during the playoffs, if you use that word to an umpire in its adjectival form, you're okay. But as a command or an interjection, then you're out.
Yeah, you best make it a remark like that near the water cooler.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe to the water cooler.
Yeah, the interjection for the ejection.
Right. That's when the umpire says bleep you and you're out. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Ball 3. 3-0.
Well, they were all talking about 0 for 5 last night. You need a game-winning hit. Even though Eddie did not look good last night, the guy you won up in that position. Single to center. A win.
And he's on. So Murray draws the walk. Second walk issued by Avery, and it will bring up Ramirez. Game 4 of the 1995 World Series is being brought to you by Buick and your local dealers. Remember, Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. Sun America, the retirement savings specialist. And the makers of Advil. Jacobs Field, Cleveland. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. 4th game of the World Series. Game 5 right here on ABC tomorrow. Maddox, Hershiser, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. In the air to center field, but a lot of room out there for Marquise Grissom. And that's the second out. Manny Ramirez gone, 2 away, and Herbert Perry coming to the plate.
You know, a lot of times in baseball you hear about pitchers being taken off the hook. Well, last night Manny Ramirez was taken off the hook because the Indians won that game on the base hit by Murray. With the score 4-1 in favor of the Indians, bases loaded in the 4th inning. Ramirez hits into the double play off Brad Klontz. It kept the Braves in the game. So Ramirez was taken off the hook like a pitcher is often taken off a hook.
Ball 1 to Perry, 1-0. A lot of talk around the stadium tonight. Was it good for baseball that Cleveland won last night? Was it good for the real good thing for baseball is the way these games have been tight and tense and right down to the end, and this has the makings of another one. 1-1.
Really,
very good World Series so far.
All of postseason. The remarkable series, the Yankees against the Seattle Mariners, will go down in infamy as far as the Yankees are concerned, and may have saved baseball in Seattle.
1-2.
Yeah, the recent word is that the commissioners apparently have okayed a new ballpark up in Seattle. Vote 10-3.
I was going to say, what commissioner? Oh,
the commission.
You're talking
County
about the ones that,
commission.
county commission. Thought you meant baseball.
Speaking of acting commissioners, Bud Selig, owner of the Brewers, here tonight. No score with 2 out, 4th inning. Murray at first base. Perry platooning in the World Series with Paul Sorrento. 2-2.
From Live Oak, Florida. I said, Herbert, where is that from? He said, about 30 miles east of Tallahassee. I said, we got 2 TV stations. I said, thank God one was sports.
Quarterback with Florida State. Great hands.
He proved that last night. Chopped foul at the plate.
Well, you know, you're funny. The Indians win 100 games. And the Braves win 90. But Herbert Perry says, you know, I'd like to be playing every day. But on this ball club, I learn a lot about playing the game. A lot of veterans. You know, a lot of middle guys that have been around. A lot of rookies. Very content to play every once in a while and, you know, hit over 300. Didn't hit for as much power as he would have liked to this year.
And that squib foul outside third. Still 2-2.
But Jimmy, I mean, I never, you know, I was a pitcher It's got to be hard to come to the big leagues after playing regular in the minor leagues and sit on the bench and still be productive.
Well, it depends on where you're going. If you're going to a contender, a team that already has a first baseman, then you're much more understanding. I'd rather sit on the bench in the majors and play regularly in the minors.
That's grounded just foul outside third.
I really think that Herbert Perry is being groomed to be an everyday player. Thing about right-handed hitters, for the most part, all things considered equal, you don't platoon a right-handed batter nearly as much as you would a left-handed batter. A guy like Paul Sorrento, who starts against very few left-handers, but Perry would start against a lot of right-handers once he proves that he's worthy of playing Major League ball. And he's done that.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Perry. 2 out. Murray at first base. No score in the 4th. Full count, and Murray will be off and running with a pitch. Espinosa on deck. I love that look. I just love it. Murray ready to take off. He goes on the 3-2 pitch, which is lined to left field. But right there, moving toward the line, is Polonia to put it away. Through 4, no score.
Why? Why?
Baseball, synonymous terms. There he is, and he's with Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Al, the best pitcher of his time, Bob Feller. Bob, does anyone on this team remind you of the 2 World Series teams that you played on?
Well, probably be, Kenny Lofton in center field reminds me a little bit of Larry Doby. He's not as big, he's not as strong, and he made home runs. Larry was fast. There's not really anyone on these 2 teams that reminds me of anybody of the 1948 club. Not really. It was completely different. And but it's a great ballpark, and great World Series.
It's been a long time between World Series wins here. You have a Buckeye that you've carried for years?
Oh, I had this Buckeye when I was a little kid in Iowa, since I was 14 years old, and always carry it with me. It usually brings good luck. I hope it brings good luck this fall.
Maybe that and Jose Mesa in the 9th. Back to you, Al.
It's a great series, and made the best team win.
Thank you, Leslie. As Grissom leads off here in the 5th inning with no score. 2 for 2 is Marquise. And he hits it in the air to center field, and Kenny Lofton drifts back, makes the catch. 1 away. And Polonia coming up. Bob Feller, and you have to go back a way to remember Bob Feller pitching, but there are some of the numbers that he posted. 266 wins, 279 complete games, which of course something like that will not be duplicated ever again, as far as we can tell, the way pitching is these days.
Talk about Ted Williams missing 5 years in the military. Feller, at the top of his career, missed 4. So you could probably add somewhere between 90 to 110 wins, and he'd be right up there with Warren Spahn, the winningest left-hander of all time.
Sure. Polonia is swinging and missing in the count, 1-1.
Bob Feller, the only pitcher ever to pitch an opening day no-hitter.
Well, you might as well get it out of the way, Timmy. If you're going to pitch one.
1 of 3 he pitched.
I mean, everybody's there.
You don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year, right?
That's over the glove of Hill and over second base into center field. So Polonia has a single.
I mean, opening day, everybody's there. Do it.
Yep. Right. Big crowd.
2 balls back up the middle. 1 by Grissom, this one by Polonia. And Kenny Hill, pretty good fielding position, but that ball just too high and hit with overspin, and it hops into second base, and Polonia will most likely be running.
280 career stolen bases. A lot of people forget that. At least Polonia can fly.
Oh, he had a couple of years out in Oakland, Timmy, where he stole over 50. Not a great on-base percentage. And California. You know, the Yankees last year did not run that much. And they checked that year right. I think California is where he had the 50 stolen bases. They've been thrown out somewhere over 20 times.
Missing to Jones, ball 1.
You talk about young players, and Chipper Jones, we talked about Manny Ramirez, both of them the same age, and it seems like Jones has been playing for years.
And there he goes, and the pitch is grounded back to Hill, who looks at second, no play there, settles for the out at first, and Polonia at second base now with 2 down, and McGriff coming to the plate. And again, you come into a situation where first base is open, and here's McGriff.
Even more so now because we're in the 5th inning. Hit and run. Polonia with a good jump. No play for Hill at second base, and he settles for the out at first. You may just see an intentional walk right here instead of a pitch around because it's getting deeper into the game.
Yep. Well, they've worked around him on 2 occasions in disparate ways. First time on 5 pitches. The second time Hill was actually ahead 1-2 and lost him, and he misses outside.
This appears to be one of those unintentional intentional deals. I would be surprised if Fred sees a strike in this at bat.
Well, I'll second that. And just about an inning and a half ago, we saw David Justice, who will be coming up if they do walk around McGriff, talking to Clarence Jones. Jones, the batting instructor.
2-0 the count.
See if he can make some kind of adjustment if they do pitch around McGriff.
You can put carbon paper in the 1st, 3rd, and 5th innings tonight in effect. Man in scoring position, 2 out, McGriff at the plate. And he's on his way to his 3rd walk. The count 3-0.
I think Mike Hargrove ought to just walk him right now. 3-0. Why take another chance?
Alomar was looking over toward the dugout. There's Mark Wiley, the pitching coach.
McGriff will certainly not get a fastball down the pipe here.
On the outside corner, 3-1.
And if you're wondering why they're pitching McGriff so carefully, I mean, this is a guy that has hit 30 or more home runs as we look at David Justice on deck in 7 consecutive years. This year didn't do it with only 27. So you better not put one in the middle of the plate. I got to think, Timmy, he's probably looking, and he's this type of hitter. He'll sit on a breaking ball. Right here, he may be looking for something off speed.
Things go according to Hoyle. That's what he'll get.
Instead, a fastball hit in the air, a sinking fastball hit in the air to center field, and McGriff is gone. At the end of 4.5, no score.
The manager just reassuring Sandy Alomar that even if you walk a guy like McGriff in that situation, then you go ahead and take your chances with Justice. And as it was, either a splitter or a sinker out of the strike zone away, and McGriff kept it in the ballpark.
Got away with one. I mean, every series is a second guesser's paradise. That would have been a classic, though, if McGriff would have gone out.
Absolutely.
Bottom of the 5th inning. Espinosa at the plate. Strike. We never second. We always first guess, though.
You tried to, but sometimes you're in a position where you second guess is the only guess left.
Right.
Try to cover all the options.
Well, so far you can't second guess Bobby Cox going with this young man.
No.
Steve Avery.
No.
I mean, he got hit hard in the 1st inning, but not since then. And I'll tell you what, he is back to where he was. I mean, he struggled this year, 7-13 with a 4.67 ERA. His last 3 starts and then one in the playoffs. Magnificent.
That's hit softly down to second. Lemke juggles a very easy play. Something you almost never see Mark Lemke about as good as they get at second base. That was almost too easy.
Well, this entire pitching staff talking about Atlanta, saying this guy is as good as anybody in the National League when it comes to fielding or turning the double play. I mean, he follows the ball into his hand. The only thing I can see, Timmy, hands maybe down below a little bit, not out in front. And that ball just bobbled. You hardly ever see that happen.
That's just a big league boot right
Yep.
there. His first error in postseason this year.
Now Alomar at the plate, the number 9 hitter.
Well, we talked about bunting early, Timmy. Do you think you bunt here when you have Lofton on deck? And Avery's so tough against left-handers?
I think I'd opt for a hit and run here. I mean, you get the left-hander Lofton.
Yep.
And then Vizquel has not had a good postseason. I think a hit and run is a better option here than a bunt.
Alomar was a 300 hitter, and there is the hit and run. Fouled away. Even though Alomar's hitting in the 9 spot, he hit 300 during the regular year.
That's in about 220 at bats for Sandy.
Jeff Newman sending out the signs.
Yeah, he put a 6 for 10 the last couple of games to get to 300. They used to run at will off of Steve Avery, but 13 pickoffs, and a lot of them from what doesn't have a good move. Swings his leg back, they go on that. But he will pick you off. He'll step off the rubber and just a quick throw.
In the dirt, throw down to first. No, safe. It's a paradox with Avery. He picks a lot of guys off. In fact, those 13 pickoffs led the majors. But he's also very susceptible to being stolen against.
Stolen bases against him also led the majors. 30 stolen bases and 32 tries to throw late from Lopez.
Yeah, Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, there they are. And that is in the National League.
And a top 10 American leaguer as well. Andy Pettit of the Yanks led the American League.
Hit and run situation again for Alomar. The one thing, if you're the runner on at first base, you cannot get picked off in this situation. It's to be distinguished by the stolen base, 30 against Avery this year, Nomo second. But you got to make sure the pitcher pitches in this situation.
He goes. The pitch is waved at and missed. He got a late break, and he tries to get back to first, and he's thrown out. Everything went wrong for the Indians on that play. He had a small lead, a late break. The pitch was way outside. Alomar waved at it to cost him a strike, and the break was so bad that Espinosa had to go back to first.
Small lead, late break is appropriate right here. We said you don't get picked off. Espinosa, realizing he doesn't have a good jump, tries to get back to first, but he's tagged out. Look at the pitch, however, to handle that Alomar had.
Yep.
That's what a manager tries to do. He tries to get the hitter a good pitch to hit, and Alomar wasn't successful then.
So 1 out, base is empty, and now the 1-2 pitch is fouled back out of play.
I mean, think about it. Avery's been around the plate all night, and the worst pitch as far as being far away from the plate was the second hit and run attempt by Alomar.
There's little Leo. You know, he finally told Avery, he said, "Are you sick and tired of them stealing bases?" He said yes. He says, "Well, let's do something about it." So he slide step, worked on his pickoff move, but still not a great move. But I'll tell you what, he can pitch. Keep him off the bases.
And that's lifted to shallow right center field. Dave Justice will put it away, and with 2 down, it will bring up Lofton. You know, as critical as last night's game was for the Cleveland Indians to win, to avoid going down 0-3, tonight's game is almost as critical, because if they go down 3-1, you're faced with Maddox in your home park. And then if you can somehow beat Maddox, you still have to win 2 more on the road. So tonight's game for Cleveland is about as important as last night's.
No doubt about it.
The Braves have a little more breathing room, because in a series tied 2-2. At least they would have those two at home if necessary, plus Maddox on the road. 1-0 the count. 2 out, bases empty in the 5th. Lofton 0 for 2 tonight. 1-1. Kenny, another of those guys plucked from another roster by the Cleveland Indians, by John Hart and company. Team up with Houston. They got him in a trade. They got Vizquel in a trade. Baerga in a trade. Murray they signed as a free agent. Espinosa in a deal. Alomar in a deal. And their pitcher tonight, Ken Hill, as well. And that's grounded toward the middle. Belliard is there to field back of second and throw him out. So the error by Lemke not costly to the 6th. 0-0 at Jacobs Field.
Was a ton.
Old Cleveland Stadium used to be known as Municipal Stadium, still the home of the Browns. The World Series was played there in 48 and 54 before crowds in excess of 80,000. And at the top of the screen, that's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in a city where there's been a lot of rocking and rolling, and that is the Goodyear Blimp Spirit of Akron. Aaron Jenkins at the controls tonight. Patrick Henry was up there last night, but he said after that long evening, give me helium or get me out of here. So Aaron Jenkins is the guy tonight.
Yeah, we had a chance on Monday night to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You did?
Oh yeah, we were rocking and rolling,
Yeah.
Timmy and I.
I was working.
No, that's right, you were, weren't you? Well, we got home by 9.
You were in Foxborough.
Foxborough, that's right. Monday Night Football next week in Minneapolis against the Vikings against the Chicago Bears. Here in the 6th inning, Dave Justice fouls it off in the count 0-1. So another good game. A 1-run game Saturday in game 1. Same thing Sunday game 2. Great game last night, 4 hours 9 minutes. And another beauty building tonight in game 4. 1-1. Justice, Klesko, and Lopez. 2-1.
Talk about baseball and football and the stadium here, Municipal Stadium. How would you like to explain the game of baseball to somebody? What a weird game. The defense holds the ball at the beginning of each play, and the offense never lays a finger on it.
Never quite thought of it that way. In the air to center field and deep, and Lofton goes back but has room and makes the catch. 403 feet away.
You know, talked about how this park plays small, and talking to Charlie Manuel and a lot of the hitters here, they said there's only been 3 balls hit over the center field fence. Ramirez, Bell, and right here you can see why. Long, long way, and Lofton checking it out all the way. We saw a great play last night. You know, that's pretty routine for him, as good as he is. And David Justice says, boy, I could have just hit it a little bit farther to left or right.
2 feet in front of that marker for out number 1. Klesko walked, fouled out. He drilled one over the wall in left center last night. Strike. 1-1.
Yeah, they said the ball just seems to carry a little bit better to left center and right center in this ballpark.
No score. One of the fascinating things that's happening in this game right now is you have, as Klesko argues the call, you have each team's number 4 starter working and pitching beautifully. But we're going to get down to the point where you've got Wohlers and Mesa, and they both pitched a lot last night as that's drilled to right field and out of here. So Klesko didn't like the call on the prior pitch, and then Hill sends one into the groove for him, and Klesko, who homered off Hill on the 9th of June in Atlanta when Ken was with the St. Louis Cardinals, duplicates the feat here. 1-0.
That was before tonight's game, the last regular season at bat against Hill, a home run by Klesko. And we said the offense never lays a finger on it, but they occasionally lay the good part of the bat on it, and that's what Klesko does here. Split finger fastball, and it's a rocket to right.
And he knew it, and Lopez takes away ball 1.
And we talked about, you know, the outstanding pitching here tonight, but here in the 6th, 2 guys up, 2 balls hit well, and if you're Mike Hargrove, even though you used your closer last night, you may want to go to the bullpen or at least get somebody up.
Lopez lifts one to center field. 2 down, and Lemke will come up. So when you get down to the end tonight with Mesa pitching 3 innings last night for Cleveland, Wohlers going 2 2/3 last night for Atlanta, both managers said, if I had to get an inning out of my guy, I think I could. But that's easy to say before the game. Lemke takes a strike. 0-1.
I really don't think a solo home run denotes whether a pitcher is fatigued or not. I mean, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the hitter, and unless you have a multiple run inning, I think a guy like Hill is perfectly capable of shutting the Braves down the rest of the way.
Lemke to Lofton. So Kenny with all of the putouts in the inning, but a Klesko home run makes it 1-0 Braves. You know, gents, baseball has a lot of problems. They're not all going to be solved with one postseason. But the games have been so good this postseason, it makes anybody who became disenchanted understand why you love the sport in the first place.
That's true.
Terrific games. And, you know, the irony here is that the team that bludgeoned their way through the American League, and that is the Cleveland Indians, they've been out-homered here at Jacobs Field 3-0, yet they hit one.
Vizquel, the batter, leading off in the bottom of the 6th inning. And the count 2 balls and no strikes. Vizquel, Baerga, and Bell. Steve Avery. Pitching a gem so far, but behind here 3-0.
Liable to see Bell or Vizquel taking twice here. That's a strike. He'll probably take again and make Avery throw 3 straight strikes. Hargrove looks on, and Avery may have gotten a break by home plate umpire John Hirschbeck. Ball could have been outside.
3-2.
That almost appeared to be a 3-1 changeup, which I find it hard to believe that he threw. Either that or he took something off. But
Yeah,
let's face it tonight.
I think he's just trying to get the ball over the plate, Jim, and sometimes when you do that, you just don't throw it as hard.
And he loses him. So Avery walks him on a full count. Tony Pena leads the cheerleading, and Baerga comes to the plate. And Bobby can only shake his head and say to Mazzoni, how in the world does he throw that pitch 3-2?
Well, that can spell big trouble in the American League this year. When you fail to get the first batter off 54% of the time they scored, and then when you have 3, 4, and 5 coming up, I got to think the numbers might even get up a little bit higher than that,
especially with this offense.
Avery with a flip throw to first base to drive him back.
Vizquel with 29 steals, but I can't believe he's going to be going anywhere on a straight steal this early in the inning.
Baerga 1 for 2 tonight as a right-handed batter this season. He hit .345.
You know, that's the one thing he really improved. I mean, this is a guy in 92 and 93, Carlos Baerga. Take another look at Avery's. He'll just kind of step off. Whoops, there it is. If that leg goes behind the pitching rubber, he has to come home. If that knee stays to the home plate side, he can go either way.
1-0.
He's needlessly worrying about Vizquel. I mean, you got 3, 4, and 5 of these guys who can pound the ball. If you're Avery, you forget about the guy at first. As you said, the chances of him running are remote unless it's a hit and run.
I mean, for 2 straight years, this guy hit over 20 home runs, over 200 hits, over 300, and drove over 100 runs. Pretty good numbers. I'd be concerned about him.
I think Steve has the accent on the wrong syllable right now. He's thrown to first base 3 times. And Vizquel did have 29 stolen bases, but they were in other situations.
And that's lined down the left field line, hooking and going foul. Long, loud strike, 1-1.
Bobby Cox is probably thinking that right now. Don't worry about the guy at first base. Worry about the guy with the stick in his hand, because they're the ones who could beat you. This ball just fouled down the left field line. 4 feet.
Yeah, that's what I call getting lucky. They don't make a good pitch, and Carlos not being able to stay back. Hooks it foul.
Ball 2. And that's grounded down to Jones. To Lemke 1. Turns it over to first. Scooped out, double play. Jones to Lemke, and then McGriff able to scoop it out of the dirt. 5-4-3.
And sometimes as a second baseman, you have to guess where the runner is going to try to take you out. What position is the runner going to be? This ball hit off the handle. Baerga slipped, leaving home plate. But look at Lemke. Very adeptly stepping back and making the play. Vizquel coming straight in. Lemke simply stepped back. Here's the slip by Baerga going out of the box. And that allowed Lemke to turn it. Nicely done.
2 down, bases empty. The first double play of the game. And Albert Bell at the plate. Strike on the corner and off speed. A walk and a strikeout for Bell tonight, and Avery hasn't given him one decent pitch to hit. Off speed away, 1-1.
Oh, Charlie Manuel, the hitting instructor, is saying, you know, we're not a very good situational hitting, except in the sense when pitchers get behind 2-0 and 3-1. That's how we hit 207 home runs. We got guys that can bomb the ball.
Outside corner, 1-2.
But we're seeing why a couple of years ago they thought that Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, and Avery are going to maybe win 20 games because of being able to make those kind of pitches. Stay out of the middle of the plate. Change speeds. Use all your pitches.
And that's hit down the right field line and deep and into the corner, and it is gone.
You may remember earlier we said it's not necessarily the pitch, it's how you got there. And Avery kept going away, 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 and that's what Bell does with it. He goes away, taking it the other way. We have a tie ball game.
Now Murray. When you can hit a ball like that, I mean, that's all you need to know about how strong Bell is.
Yeah, you wonder if he would have been able to hit that ball with authority if he hadn't moved up on the plate.
Crowd chanting Eddie, Eddie.
So he moved up on the plate, and he makes an adjustment and readjusts the score. Ties it up 1 apiece.
This is Avery's 98th pitch, and that's grounded, just foul.
Why did the third?
You know, you're right. The third base umpire, Wendelstedt, looked down at Jim McKean.
That's right.
To see what McKean was going to call. It's really Harry's call.
That's exactly right. I mean, McKean can't make the call because Harry's in front of him. I mean, what's going on? Watch Harry Wendelstedt. It's his call all the way.
That
ball's a fair ball.
Sure.
Harry, watch him look at Jim McKean. Well, Jim McKean's behind him, and once he calls it foul, Harry calls it foul.
It is where the ball crosses the bag on that play. It's not where it lands.
That's right.
It's where the ball is in the air as it crosses third base.
I'll tell you, Mike Hargrove has got the argument because he saw the reaction of Harry Wendelstedt. And by that reaction, he said, wait a minute, something's fishy here.
Sure.
And he has a good point. That was a bad call by Harry Wendelstedt. That was no call by Harry Wendelstedt.
You know, you go back to last night's ball game. A double by Alomar that does go over the bag is called fair, and Jim McKean, who is right here, calls it foul.
How can he see the play with Wendelstedt in front of him?
Yeah, that whole play it's simple. It's the third base umpire saying, okay, the ball is either over the base when it passes it, or it's in foul ground.
Right.
It's as simple as that. The left field umpire has nothing to do with that play. Wacky. You know, the crazy thing is, a lot of people say, as they do with the NFL, why don't they put the best officials in postseason? Well, I've got to tell you, the two guys who've made calls in this series that are very dubious, Wendelstedt here and Fleming the other night, are as good as they get.
That's right.
I mean, Harry Wendelstedt and Bruce Fleming are great umpires. Normally. Two and one.
It's almost like Harry's looking down to see if that ball bounced. Kind of like playing on hard tree and true in tennis. Can I see the spot where? Show me the mark.
Yeah, but the mark means nothing. The mark is in oxygen.
Well, if he were at Wimbledon, he would have had a complaint from McEnroe, I'll tell you that.
You ready, Eddie?
If he had been anywhere, he would have got a complaint from McEnroe.
100 pitches for Avery. Off speed, half swing, no. Ball 3. Frank Pulley, the first base umpire.
Not even close.
Two out, base is empty. And the 3-2 pitch coming up to Eddie Murray. Ball 4. So Eddie probably should have had a double. Winds up with half of it. 2-out walk, and Ramirez comes up.
Half a double's better than none.
That's right.
You know,
you bet it. Any time of the night, too.
You mentioned last inning, Timmy, that you know, you don't take a guy out because of some long fly balls, but if you're Bobby Cox and you get a pitcher that stops throwing strikes, then you got to get somebody up.
Yeah, especially third time through the lineup, and you have a left-handed pitcher that is zeroed in on the outside corner to right-handers to where they're looking for it so much that it ceases to be outside on the outside corner anymore. You have all the right-handers going out over the plate like Bell did to hit the home run.
Now Brad Klotz, who pitched in relief last night, starts to throw in the Atlanta bullpen. Funny thing about the Braves, we talked about Wohlers, 2 2/3. They're short man, so can he pitch tonight? And if he can, it will be very briefly. There's some question about Alejandro Pena and his arm right now, and back as well. Merker pitched a lot last night. McMichael was also on in relief last night. Things are going to get pretty fascinating here. Ramirez, low for a ball, 1-0. Held on by McGriff at first base. 2 out. Inside.
Danny, you know, a lot of times you're not supposed to show your emotions and wear them on your sleeves. Pedro Babor, the left-hander, and Brad Klontz, the right-hander, but Avery putting his head down because he's lost control of the strike zone. They're a little tentative.
And they're going to call a balk. Frank Pulley, the first base umpire, called a balk.
I think Avery broke his hands while he was still on the rubber and then stepped off.
Yeah, you have to really step off, and then let's see if he does it. Comes to the set position.
No, that was a balk.
He lost his balance.
You said he was losing his cool. He's losing his balance as well, Jim.
Well, you know, actually, he does step off.
Yeah, but it's too late.
Well, Eddie Murray certainly helped out Frank Pulley over at first.
So did the crowd. Well, Murray is where he belongs, at second base, because he was jobbed out of what should have been a double, and now an intentional walk with a count 2-0 will be issued to Ramirez, and it will bring up Herbert Perry.
It looked to me like Avery was losing his balance, and instead of remaining on the rubber, he stepped off right before he lost his balance totally. Or he could have tripped on the rubber.
But either way you look at it, he did step off.
He stepped off, but he broke his hands, didn't he?
I don't think he ever got his hands together. But it really doesn't matter what we think. Frank Pulley called it a balk.
So Herbert Perry, last night's defensive hero, comes to the plate with 2 on and 2 out, and the game tied in the 6th.
You know, if Bobby Cox was into numbers, he's been up twice. He's lined out the left field, and he hit .344 against left-handers.
So you think you'd bring in Klontz right here?
Well, I'll tell you what, Klontz had some fabulous numbers against right-handed pitching.
I don't think Klontz would be facing a right-hander. However, if you bring the right-hander in, you're going to pinch hit Sorrento.
So you would go with a guy that's been out there.
Strike. A lot made last night about Hargrove leaving Nagy in because he was in the 80s. Mike said he had a lot left. With Cox leaving Avery in here, Avery has now thrown 107 pitches tonight, and this will be his 26th pitch of the inning. Foul back, 1-2.
Seems to me that this is a better matchup, Avery against Perry, than Klontz against Sorrento. I mean, left-handed hitters hit .344 against Brad Klontz this year. So would you rather bring the more experienced Sorrento up there? Would you rather be facing him here or Perry? I think Bobby's got the right matchup right here.
New set of signs, says Steve Avery. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count. And he got him down and in to end the inning. But the homer by Bell ties it, 1-1 through 6. And back we come after this from our ABC stations.
And in this shot, Bobby Cox talking to his pitching coach Leo Mazzoni, and that's going to be all for Steve Avery. Terrific job by Steve tonight, and a great job getting Herbert Perry for the last out in the 6th.
Now Greg McMichael throws in the Atlanta bullpen, and there's also action in the Indian bullpen with Paul Ossenmacher, the left-hander, throwing as Ken Hill gets ready to work in the 7th inning. We have Ossenmacher and then Tavares, normally the setup man, and then you've got Mesa, the short man, coming off a 3-inning stint last night. Meanwhile, Hill's been terrific outside of one swing of McGriff's or Klesko's bat in the count 0-1 here. Belliard leading off, the number 9 hitter. Belliard, Grissom, and Polonia. 0-2. 1 run, 5 hits, and 1 error for the Braves. The Klesko homer accounting for the scoring. 1 run, 3 hits. No errors for the Indians. The Albert Bell home run accounting for all Cleveland scoring.
Just trying to stay alive. That's what you do 0-2 against a hard thrower. We've seen it all night long in the mid-90s with the fastball.
Good breaking pitch, and down he goes. 1 out. Grissom coming up. And the 4th game of the 1995 World Series is being brought to you by Burger King, where you can get your burger's worth. The cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. And Budweiser, the gold medal winning American Premium Lager at the 1995 Great American Beer Festival. This Bud's for you. Grissom at the plate. That strikeout of Belliard, the first strikeout for Ken Hill tonight.
Yeah, I checked my scorecard. I thought I had missed a couple.
Yeah, Ken is more or less a contact pitcher. You hear that a lot about hitters, but Ken puts the ball in play.
1-2. We charted him on that last pitch at 90.
When you think about it, most pitchers who keep the ball down don't strike a lot of hitters out. They entice a ground ball. They entice contact. So the more a pitcher keeps the ball down, the more a hitter, generally speaking, puts it in play. Strikeout pitchers, as Jim Palmer was, high fastball pitchers. Slider pitchers that are wicked sliders like a Bob Gibson or a Steve Carlton.
Yeah, you just get a lot of swings and misses. You usually get the high pitch counts. You get a guy like Mark Fidrich, you get a guy like Greg Maddux who can strike you out, but his intentions are for you to hit the ball and do it early in the count.
And to use the guys behind him.
3-2. If the Indians win the World Series, this guy, Ken Hill, will be one of the great unsung heroes. He was in a similar spot in the 4th game of the American League Championship Series and beat Seattle down 2-1. And he's trying to get him even tonight. Ball 4 here as Grissom walks. And Polonia comes to the plate.
Yeah, he didn't want to do that.
Now you have a bevy of left-handers coming up. Polonia, Chipper Jones, of course, a switch hitter, and then McGriff, Justice, and Klesko.
Well, it goes back to what Mike Hargrove was second-guessed a little bit about last night is when do you go to your bullpen?
Right.
You know, what matchups do you want? I mean, Hill hasn't pitched in 10 days.
That's hit in the air to right center field, and racing over is Ramirez, and he can't make the play. Grissom around third being waved in and scores to give Atlanta the lead on a double by Polonia.
Certainly an erstwhile query on your part, James.
Well, you know, and again, it's not a second guess.
No, it's not at all. You said it before it happened. I mean, you know, if you're going to bring in Assenmacher, why not bring him in to face Polonia and make Bobby Cox make a move, because you're going to take him out right now anyway. And I'm sure that Mike Hargrove will walk Chipper Jones, but now he's got to face McGriff and Justice unless McGriff hits into a double play, whereas before you get a switch of Polonia for a right-handed batter. Well, probably Mike Devereaux.
The case last night with Nagy.
Yep.
And he wanted him to just get through the first 2 guys and then bring Assenmacher in. And tonight he wanted him to get through one more guy, and that guy Polonia winds up doubling. The hand is for Ken Hill. Great performance, but he leaves trailing. The Braves lead it by a score of 2-1.
We're into the future.
But he leaves trailing after going 6 1/3, giving up at least 2 runs. Poloni at second base is his responsibility, and he yields to Assenmacher here with 1 out in the 7th inning, and the Braves on top 2-1. Another 1-run game in a series where we've had 3, and the home team thus far has won each one of them.
Yeah, Paul Assenmacher, and along with all the left-handers in the bullpen for Cleveland, have done an outstanding job with 16 at-bats against the opposing left-handers, 7 strikeouts and only 1 walk.
That walk, excuse me, Jim, that walk was a key walk to Devereaux in Game 1.
And that's the point I was going to make, is that very effective against left-handed hittings, even though Jones will in this turn around and be a right-handed batter. But the one thing that Paul's had trouble doing lately, Tim, is getting the curveball over and therefore falling behind a lot of the hitters.
I don't think he'd be facing Jones, however. Mike Hargrove would probably walk Jones and pitch to McGriff or Justice, I would think.
Yeah.
Which will be a lot of irony if he does that, because they've been working around McGriff.
Right.
Now they may work around the man hitting in front of him to get to him. Let's see. Poloni at second base, and 1 out. And they will walk him and go to work lefty against lefty on Fred McGriff. Polonia dancing off second. Be very ironic if Polonia turns out to be the star tonight and a big hero for Atlanta, because he was playing with the Yankees and might still have been with the Yankees had not George Steinbrenner opted to sign Darryl Strawberry. When Strawberry was signed by the Yankees, Polonia was the odd man out, and Atlanta said thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess if you're wondering too, Strawberry was almost a non-factor in the series against Seattle. Luis Polonia much better prepared to play than Darryl was. You wonder if he would have been in the mix with the Yankees playing the Mariners.
Now McGriff takes a strike in the count of 1-1. Lefties out of the Cleveland pen have been terrific in postseason. Assenmacher, Embry, and Poole collectively, when facing left-handed batters, 0 for 16 are the hitters with 7 strikeouts. Off speed missing, 1-1.
When you talk so much about matchups, whether you're talking about the NBA, but here in the big leagues, this is what you want. Even though McGriff can hit left-handers, Assenmacher's strength 177 lefties hit. So if you're going to have a chance to win tonight, he's got to do the job.
And that one skips to the backstop as Polonia goes to third, takes the turn there and holds, and down to second goes Jones. And runners at second and third now with the count 2 balls and 1 strike.
This ball squirts through the trap door. You can see Alomar not using that right hand, and when a catcher doesn't do that, then he's not utilizing all his equipment. He's reaching for the ball with the glove. That ball's got to be handled. Squirted through the trap door, left open by Alomar. Pass ball and rightly called.
Now the infield has to play in, and the pitch is waved at and missed in the count 2-2. Polonia the runner at third. Chipper Jones at second. Infield in. 2-1 Braves. 1 out. 7th inning. Two. Got him swinging. And that's why a guy like Assenmacher, who pitches less than an inning per outing, can command the kind of salary that a left-hander can when you come out of the bullpen just for moments like this.
I tell you, great pitch at a clutch moment. And Freddie McGriff probably was, he's looking for the ball, but he's expecting something breaking and still couldn't get the bat on it.
Now he tries to do it again with Dave Justice at the plate.
Well, this is a good choice to pitch to Justice in this situation, not because David has an offer in this game, but because Klesko is on deck, and Assenmacher would be facing Devereaux and not Klesko. But now it's a lefty-lefty matchup.
Strike. 0-1.
I tell you, the amazing thing is Justice has hit, what, about 25 points lifetime better against lefties?
Right.
I guess that's why it's not that shocking that he's hit 364 lifetime off Assenmacher. Those are some major numbers.
Another strike.
See, the thing is, though, Justice is facing a different Assenmacher, and Assenmacher is facing a different Justice.
Crowd to its feet.
Not every pitch is designed to get hitters out. That was a show-me fastball for the breaking ball that's coming next.
And that's grounded into center field for a base hit. Polonia comes in to score, and so does Jones to make it 4-1. He threw the breaking pitch, and Justice, who's had a pretty cool postseason, responds.
It was a hanging slider right over the fat part of the plate. And Justice delivers.
So 2 runs score, 3 in the inning, and it's 4-1. And the crowd has been stilled as Klesko comes up and fouls it away. Klesko started the scoring in the 6th inning tonight. And there was no doubt as he hits his 2nd in 2 nights.
And this matchup right now, lefty against lefty, only because Justice got the hit to drive into. Had Hargrove walked Justice, then you get Devereaux to pinch hit for Klesko in all probability. Now Bobby Cox leaving Klesko in there in case the Indians come back and tie it later. Klesko will hit against the right-handers.
Justice goes, and that's popped foul off to the right and back out of play. 0-2.
Yeah, that was, as you mentioned, not a very good pitch with a 1-2 count, first base open.
That a real hanger, wasn't it?
Yeah, veteran lefty is going to make.
And down he goes, but the damage done before the inning-ending strikeout. The Braves get 3 and lead 4-1 in Game 4. Single to Dave Justice, and now for the Braves defensively, Mike Devereaux comes in to play left field. Greg McMichael comes in to pitch. Avery pitching extremely well tonight. And Jim Thome will hit for Alvaro Espinoza as we start the bottom of the 7th inning. Thome, Alomar, and Lofton with the Braves on top 4-1. One and oh. One of the reasons Bobby Cox didn't hit Devereaux for Klesko was that he would have locked Devereaux in as the designated hitter and wouldn't have been able to use him defensively. And thus, if you've forgotten the rule, if you take the DH out and you insert the guy who replaces him in the field, you lose the DH privilege and have to bat your pitcher. And that's why Devereaux didn't hit for Klesko. Bobby wanted to keep him for the fence. In the air to left field and deep. goes back and can't make the play. It's off the scoreboard, and Thome winds up at second.
I'll tell you, this is why they like Thome. That's why he's so tough to pitch. 25 dingers, 22 of those against right-handed pitching. And Devereaux, who was a 6'10" high jumper in high school in Wyoming, back as far as he can go and unable to get it as it goes off the wall.
So Thome at second. He will stay in the game at third base in the top of the 8th. Alomar at the plate, and then Lofton as they get to the top of the order. Alomar grounded out, flied out, 0 for 2 in the game. And bluffs the bunt, takes up high, ball 1.
Yeah, Bobby Cox, you got to think that he liked the matchups. He's got a better defense. He's got McMichael, who had an outstanding year, couldn't hold the lead last night. Righties and lefties over the year, just over 200. He gives up a leadoff double.
And that's grounded to the right side. Lemke throws him out. The runner advances. In a one-run game, that's a great play. In a game where you're down by 3, not so great. The Braves will take the out. Borbon and Clance in the bullpen. Lofton 0 for 3 tonight. The Braves can afford to play back at short and second. They'll be up at first and third only because of Lofton's speed. And he grounds that one into the glove of McGriff, and because he is playing even with a bag, he's able to hold Thome at third. 2 down.
Most of the time, speed is a tremendous asset offensively. But Lofton got burned because of his speed there. If Lofton couldn't run, McGriff would be back in the position the run scores. But because he can run, McGriff had to pinch in at first. And he looked Thome back at third, and Lofton's an easy out.
Now Vizquel. Strike. 0-1.
You know, it's funny, we talked about situational hitting, and Lofton, of course, having a great series, just jumps on the first pitch, well intentioned, but a grounder to second or third. This ball game is 4-2.
And that's grounded down to Jones at third. And they get out of the inning without the Indians cutting into the lead. Atlanta by 3. 4-1 in the 4th game, trying to go up 3-1. A reminder, Saturday at 1:30 Eastern and on tape at 4 o'clock Pacific time, the Tour Championship featuring Greg Norman, among others, from Tulsa. Jim Thome stays in the game at third base, hitting in the 8th spot. And coming out of the bullpen for the Indians is Julian Taveras. 10 wins out of the pen in relief this season as the setup man. When you win 10 games as a setup man out of the bullpen, it tells you one thing. It means your club comes from behind for a lot of dramatic late inning victories. You're the beneficiary of that, and he hopes to be tonight as well. The Indians have done it time and time again this year.
And they've done it just as Atlanta's done it because of their great middle relief to get to the closers if you do get a lead.
Mark looks on as Taveras gets ready to face Lopez leading off in the 8th inning. Lopez, Lemke, and Billiard, the bottom 3 in the order. Inside ball 1. Boy, as noisy as this place can get, it can get on the other side of the spectrum, as it is right now, as quiet as I've ever heard it.
Almost eerie how quiet it is.
It's only because you're a superior analyst could you come up with something like that. 1 and 1.
I'm not touching it.
You're not going to say it. I have to say it for you.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. In there for a strike on the count 1-2. Alan Embry in the Cleveland pen. And Lopez is gone. 1 out in the 8th inning, and that will bring up Mark Lemke. We'll have the player of the game at the conclusion of tonight's game. Chevrolet will present an MVP trophy. Donate an Astrovan to the Special Olympics in the player's name at the end of the World Series. Mark Lemke 0 for 3 tonight. Fouls it off in the count of 1-1.
Ted Tavares pitching in 11 of the 13 games, and you don't find too many kids at 22 years of age that can change speeds, can pitch to both sides of the plate. Great splitter when he gets ahead. You're going to win 100 games. This is the type of guy you want coming out of the bullpen.
And that's lined to left field for a base hit. Lemke's first hit of the night. 5th hit in the series. And Belliard comes up.
Here's a situation. You're up by 3. Bobby Cox may just sacrifice with Belliard to try to tack on a run. Good hitting by Lemke, lining one to left field. You don't see it too often, a 1-out sacrifice, but if Bobby Cox is inclined to do it, now would be a good time to try to tack on another run.
Yeah, something you wouldn't see in the National League because the pitcher would be behind Belliard unless you're going to take him out and pinch hit for him.
Belliard up there to bunt, misses for a strike, 0-1.
And of course, Bobby Cox has seen Belliard the limited times he's played. As we look at Jimmy Williams down at third, flashing the signs. He had over 300 against left-handers, but about 190 against righties, so it's a high percentage play. Why not pad your lead?
Tavares stepping off. 4 runs, 8 hits, and an error for the Braves. 1 run, 4 hits, and no errors for the Indians. I love watching Cox. I mean, he's so expressive. It's just terrific. And that's bunted. Nice bunt. And tag is made, or was it by Perry? What are they going to say?
Well, I think Frank Pulley said he was trying to avoid the tag. Home plate umpire John Hirschbeck said safe. And then Frank Pulley called him out, saying he tried to avoid the tag.
Right.
Now, this is going to be at a great angle, and keep in mind as we take a look right here, Perry. Now there's your 40. I don't really think, Timmy, when he went to tag him, he was out of the baseline.
Well, you can. That I guess is Frank Pulley's opinion. But you can run out of the baseline, but you can't run out of the baseline in the umpire's judgment if you're trying to avoid a tag. But the second look of that, he wasn't that far out of the line, was he?
Very close call.
Yeah.
Now Grissom at the plate. So Belliard credited with the sacrifice as Marquise takes inside, ball 1.
Take another look. Right here, I mean, the good play is that Perry just flips it to Baerga, but he tries to tag him, and you can see him. I mean, he's maybe a foot, and Frank Pulley right there saying, listen, he's out of the line, you're out.
Little half swing chopper foul.
I think when both feet went on the inside of the line, the inside of that white line, with both feet over there, then that was conclusive enough for Pulley to call him out.
Does he get him on the back of the foot? You know, maybe he gets him on the heel.
But that's not the way the play was called. Frank Pulley called it that he was out of the line.
Yeah, I'm surprised Bobby didn't at least offer a mild protest. 1-2.
Yeah, you're right about his expressions. Grissom getting picked off with 2 outs in the 5th inning yesterday. We asked Bobby Cox what happened. He goes, he just went. Just took off. What can you do?
1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 out, 8th inning. 4-1 Atlanta. 2-2 on Grissom.
This crowd realizing what an important run it is on second base because they've seen this team come from behind too many times this year.
And for that reason, Timmy, you have a guy that's hitting 12 straight games. You got Mike Devereaux on deck who does not hit right-handers. I mean, I don't know what Tavares is going to do, but you got to be very careful here. Make your pitch or don't make it at all.
And he waves at it and grounds it toward third. Thome charges but has no play. Grissom has too much speed, so he holds on to it. And down to third goes Lemke. Runners at first and third now, and Mike Devereaux comes up. Grissom has 3 hits tonight.
Well, in my opinion, this is a great play. I mean, it's a great pitch, good slider, not hit particularly hard. Thome knows if he tries to make the play and throws it away, they may add an insurance run. You can see him taking a little bit of an angle right there. He fakes the throw and hopes that Lemke down at second comes around and maybe thinks about scoring. And it's the same thing. It's almost like you pitched around Grissom.
Devereaux now 2 on 2 out outside, ball 1. When postseason starts, as you look at Lemke at third and Grissom at first, Devereaux was a role player, but he played the role so well he was the National League Championship Series MVP. Two and oh. Jim Warfield giving Jeff Newman a little rub down.
And Jeff, the third base coach. It's not a good sign, Jim.
No.
I think Mike Hargrove out to talk to Tavares and to tell Alomar, or I guess that's Mark Wiley, out to talk to Tavares and possibly tell Alomar what to do in case Grissom runs to second. But it looks like usually if a pitching coach goes right to the pitcher, he's talking about something about his mechanics, which I'll tell you, I've never been a big fan of that. I think once the game begins, you work on from the neck up. You don't work on the arm. You don't work on the mechanics of a pitcher or a hitter in a hitting coach's capacity. I think you do that in the games, you know, like before the game and spring training, things like that.
2 balls, no strikes. Jones on deck. Runners at first and third. 2 down. 2 and 1.
So I guess it's safe to say that you never went out to the mound and told Carlton that his mechanics were awry.
No. I never believed that much about the mechanics. I think you work on the mental part of the game once the game begins, and you don't, maybe a key here and there, but not too many things to get guys to think too much.
Runner goes, pitch outside, bluff throw to second, so an uncontested advance.
That was a bad bluff too.
That was. Could have thrown his shoulder out of that bluff.
Yeah. That bluff was so bad, if that were a card game, I'd have called.
I'd have raised. And the pitch is inside for ball 4. So Devereaux walks, and now Chipper Jones comes up with the bases loaded and 2 out. And that's going to do it for Tavares as Hargrove goes to the mound. And they will go to the bullpen with the bases loaded, 2 out. And the Indians trying to stay in the game, down by 3.
This is about how you go to sleep one day running.
The Cleveland Indians with the Braves on top 4-1 and a chance to break it wide open with the bases loaded and 2 out. College football, that's the lineup on ABC this Saturday. Regional action featuring Nebraska against Colorado, Florida against Georgia, USC versus Washington, Minnesota, Michigan. Check your local listings. Severa's out and Embry in. And Assenmacher can only hold his head, pretty much summing up the plight of the Indians, at least at the moment.
Yeah, Alan Embry, we talked about Assenmacher having a great curveball. Embry throws 96, 97 miles per hour, and Mike Hargrove put it before the game. He said when he throws the ball over, you better get the bat going. That's his biggest problem, just throwing strikes, and he has not had problems here in the World Series.
Third time in 2 nights the Indians have brought a lefty in to face Jones to turn the switch hitter around, and the first pitch is in there. Bases loaded with Lemke, Grissom, and Devereaux. One and one.
You talk about a left arm that has been reborn. Alan Embry.
Yeah, medial collateral ligament transplant in 1993, and a lot of people didn't know if he would ever pitch with the effectiveness or the velocity that he had. But he is something. Went down to the Arizona Fall League last year, worked on his slider. He's got starter stuff. I mean, you just don't find too many left-handers or right-handers with this kind of velocity and movement.
One-two to Jones. Away, 2-2. When the Indians bat in the bottom of the 8th, 3, 4, and 5, it's Baerga, Bell, and Murray. Embry trying to keep Cleveland in the game. 4-1 in the 8th. Still 2-2. Whatever it takes.
Rally bubble.
Well, they need an out bubble here.
And that's in the air to right center field. And Embry will keep him in the game as Ramirez makes the catch. Atlanta leaves the bases loaded. 4-1 in the middle of the 8th. Jacobs Field coming alive again as the crowd tries to help the Indians rally here in the 8th inning. Stars and Stripes, the Goodyear Blimp, still hovering in the late October northern Ohio skies. It's a beautiful night. Temperature still in the 50s as Carlos Baerga leads off in the bottom of the 8th inning. 4-1 Atlanta. Strike on 1. Funny how in this postseason the old adages apply that good pitching stops good hitting. And in particular for the Indians, walks will kill you. The other night, Hershiser, and that was the difference in that game, 3-2. Morrow will pitch tomorrow. And the walk tonight. In the 7th inning, the walk to Grissom with 1 out was the launching pad. That's grounded down to McGriff. And Freddie will do it himself. 1 away.
I was talking to Charlie Manuel, the hitting instructor with the Indians, and the amazing thing is that he released Greg McMichael when he played for him at Colorado Springs. So here's a guy that was almost out of baseball, had to go back to A-ball, and last year was the closer for 21 saves. And here he is trying to get him to their closer, maybe tonight, Mark Wohlers.
And Wohlers, who had a busy night last night, 2 2/3, his longest stint of the season by far, throwing in the pen.
You know, I asked Charlie, I said, well, you know what, tell me about McNichol now and then. He said a changeup that made him a major league pitcher.
1-0.
Well, Al talked about the good pitching stopping good hitting. You notice how the pitchers have stopped the Indians hitting so far. With the exception of Wohlers and John Smoltz, most of them have done it with good control and off-speed stuff. You're not going to overpower Cleveland's hitters. They're too strong. A lot of American League teams found that out this year. And Bobby Cox really knows the art of pitching, along with his pitching coach, Leo Mazzoni. And what gets hitters out? It's not always velocity. Certainly it would be in Mark Wohlers' case. You look at the others, not so.
Little squibber.
Changeup.
Yep, there it is.
Changeup.
McMichael throws him out, 2 down.
And you go back to Steve Avery's performance when he did not locate his fastball. The balls were hit hard, but as the game progressed, he used his curveball, used the location, and got a bunch of outs and pitched a marvelous game.
Changeup. Back to McMichael. All these Indian hitters geared for the fastball, and with the exception of John Smoltz, I mean, it would stand to reason that the Indians would hit Smoltz better than any of the other Atlanta pitchers, because he's the guy who has to go power against power.
And they did last night.
Right.
Strike, 0-1. Indians during the World Series, right up to the moment, hitting a collective 183. And Murray hits that on the ground to short. Belliard throws him out. And an easy inning for McMichael. To the 9th in Cleveland. Atlanta 4, Cleveland 1. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Our group headed up by producer Kurt Gowdy Jr. and director Bill Webb, and as always Steve Hurt providing the script as we go to the 9th inning. 4-1. The Braves on top, and Freddie McGriff takes a strike. 0-1.
Tell you, Steve has been writing some pretty good scripts for these 4 games.
As always.
In the air to left field, and Bell with a long way to go and can't get there, and it's chased down by Tomei as McGriff winds up at second with a double. So a looping double to left field right down the line for a guy who pulls the ball. So Bell with a long way to run, and for Freddie McGriff, his first hit of the night.